We can save billions and billions of dollars a year if we just listen to Neil deGrasse Tyson. That's all we got to do. Just listen to this guy. He will save the world billions. What a clown. All right, so here we go. Using freshman level calculus, you can show that the one and only shape that has the smallest surface area for an enclosed volume is a perfect sphere. In fact, billions of dollars could be saved annually on packaging materials if all shipping boxes and all packages of food in the supermarket were spheres. For example, the contents of a super jumbo box of Cheerios would fit easily into a spherical carton with a 4.5-inch radius. But practical matters prevail. No one wants to chase packaged food down the aisle after it rolls off the shelves. All right, so he is saying that you can ship stuff internationally via a sphere and save billions. Does the shipping industry not know this? How do you not know this, shipping industry? Do you not know that you could be saving billions? Neil deGrasse Tyson knows this and you don't? I know your whole lives and careers and all your profits, all your employees are contingent on you saving money because the margins are low. But Neil deGrasse Tyson says you could. Why are you not listening to him? It's crazy. Listen to science and Neil deGrasse Tyson. Oh, he's wrong? Well, that's crazy. Controversial, because this guy says that pack size, on-demand packaging, people actually have skin in the game. Remember Nassim Nicholas Taleb, skin in the game? He calls people like Neil deGrasse Tyson. I'm not saying Nassim would call Neil deGrasse Tyson, but intellectual yet idiots, IYIs. They have no skin in the game. Neil deGrasse Tyson have no skin in the game. So he, in my opinion, is an intellectual yet idiotic. That's what, again, I'm putting words in Nassim Nicholas Taleb's vernacular that he did not utter. But if you look at, you're literally no skin in the game and you're a smart guy supposedly because you're well credentialed, you're an IYI. All right, so let's see what some guy who actually is responsible for eliminating cost would say. Guys, I know this is potentially inflammatory. After all, look, he's a black guy who everyone says is so smart. You can't criticize a smart black guy today. Neil deGrasse, and he's science, by the way. Neil deGrasse Tyson is one of the most famous scientists in the world. And if you listen to, you know he's a pretty smart guy. But we have to disagree with him on the point he made in an article he wrote in the 90s and then has since reiterated in a recent interview in 2017. There are so many reasons why spheres cannot work. But first of all, it needs to be stated that Tyson is correct that a sphere gives you more volume for less surface area than any other shape. He says in the rest of the article, that's why there's so many naturally occurring spheres in the universe. All right, but here's the issue. No one wants to chase that sphere with a 9-inch diameter across the grocery store floor. That's pretty obvious, and even the clown even says it himself. But the practical problems go further. It's easy enough for us to carry a basketball-sized sphere around, but have you ever tried carrying 2 or 3 at a time? I bet you have a much easier time carrying 2 or 3 jumbo-sized boxes of Cheerios. The problem only gets worse the larger the sphere-shaped packaging gets. Carrying around a box with a sofa in it, no problem for movers. Carrying around a sphere with a sofa in it, disaster. Exactly. Another practical issue is that while spheres are great for shipping things that don't have a rigid shape, like cereal, rice, or liquids, they aren't great for much else. If you're shipping a camera, some windows, or furniture, a box will obviously have much less empty space. Exactly. But no! Neil deGrasse Tyson says we can save billions! You guys don't know what you're talking about. Let's also consider the feasibility of creating a sphere-shaped packaging in the first place. Corrugated cardboard can't be formed into a sphere. It was specifically designed not to be able to warp. Do these guys not know what Neil deGrasse Tyson says? Do they not know? They're all wrong. So these spheres would have to be made from another material. Styrofoam and plastic would be extremely unsustainable. Actual wood is difficult to form into spheres. That leaves metal. Aluminum might work since it's pretty malleable and can be recycled infinitely, but it would be far more expensive than paperboard. All in all, spherical packaging is too impractical to use today. It might work in a science fiction universe, from which Neil deGrasse Tyson comes from, where there aren't any limits on resources or people have skin in the game. But even then, there will probably be issues using it. Namely, watch. Oh, drops. Want to keep. All right, so that's fantastic. All right, let's go back to what Nassim Nicholas Taleb talks about intellectually. It doesn't fit Neil deGrasse Tyson to a T. What we have seen worldwide from India to the U.S. is the rebellion against the inner circle of no skin in the game policy-making clerks and journalist insiders. That class of paternalistic, semi-intellectual experts, some with Ivy League, Oxford, Cambridge, or similar education, who are telling the rest of us what to do, what to eat, how to speak, how to think, who to vote. But the problem is the one-eyed following the blind. These self-described members of the intelligentsia cannot find coconut on Coconut Island. They aren't intelligent enough to define intelligence, hence fall into circularities. But their main skill is capacity to pass exams written by people like them, with psychology papers replicating less than 40% dietary advice, reversing after 30 years of fat phobia, macroeconomic analysis working worse than astrology, the appointment of Bernanke, the pharmaceutical trials replicating at best only 1/3 of the time. People are perfectly entitled to rely on their own ancestral instinct and listen to the grandmothers with a better track record of these policy-making goons. And one can see these academico bureaucrats who feel entitled to run our lives aren't even rigorous, whether medical statistics or policy making. They can't tell science from scientism. In fact, scientism looks more scientific than real science. For instance, it is trivial to show the following. Much of what Cass Sunstein, Richard Thaler types, those who want to nudge us in some behavior, much of what they would classify as rational or irrational, or some categories indicating desired protocol, comes from their misunderstanding of probability theory and a cosmetic use of first-order models. They're also prone to make the same ensemble for the linear aggregation of its components as we saw in a different chapter about minority rule. Stop after this paragraph here, but this is critical. The IYI is a production of modernity, hence he has been accelerating since the mid-20th century to reach its logical supermonth today, along with a broad category of people without skin in the game who have been invading many walks of life. Why? Simply, in most countries, the government role is between 5 times and 10 times what it was a century ago. The IYI seems ubiquitous in our lives, but it's still a small minority and is rarely seen outside specialized outlets, think tanks, and the universities. Most people have proper jobs, and there are not many openings for the IYI. But the semi-erudite who thinks he's an erudite, he fails to naturally detect sophistry. Man, 100%. Anyway, so the point being is, don't listen to these people, man. Do your own. Just use what grandma said, for heaven's sake. Now, I was never raised around grandma, but I just, gosh, do you not know what? Let me just read you again from from Eisenhower. Eisenhower farewell address that you will remember as a military-industrial complex, but it's such deeper than that. Akin to and largely responsible for the sweeping changes in our industrial military posture has been the technological revolution during recent decades. In this revolution, research has become central. It has also become more formalized, complex, and costly. A steadily increasing share is conducted by and for at the direction of the federal government. Today, the solitary inventor tinkering in his shop has been overshadowed by task forces of scientists and laboratories and testing fields. In the same fashion, the free university, historically the fountainhead of free ideas and scientific discovery, has experienced a revolution in the conduct of research. Partly because of huge costs involved, a government contract becomes virtually a substitute for intellectual curiosity. For every old blackboard, there are now hundreds of new electronic computers. The prospect of domination of the nation's scholars by federal government project allocations and the power of money is ever present and to be gravely regarded. Yet in holding scientific research and discovery in respect, we should and must be alert to the equal and opposite danger that public policy could itself become the captive of a scientifically technological elite, 100%. And guys like Neil deGrasse Tyson, Michael Mann, IYIs. That's all you got to remember. And if they can be so idiotic when it comes to things as shipping spheres relative to boxes, where people who skin the game say, I'm going for the profit margin because I'm not an idiot yet intellectual. Should you listen to anything they say? Of course not. All right, we'll see you.